Thanks for joining, everyone. My name is Mary Corman. I'm the Public Health School Liaison here at the Allen County Department of Health. As people continue to join, feel free to admit them. I might not see it pop up. So thank you for joining our virtual Lunch and Learn for March. We have Nancy Kripe. She's the other camera you can see. She's going to be our guest speaker today. And our itinerary for the day, we're going to do a quick review, just like we always do, school liaison and communicable disease updates. We're going to talk about an initiative that the Public Health Student Heroes Group has put together, and then we'll be covering some free trainings, and then we'll give the last 15 minutes to Nancy. All right, so as always, if you would like a copy of the slides or any of the resources that I refer to today, please go ahead and put your email in the chat. This email or this invite goes out to about 250 people, so I don't send the resources to everyone, but please go ahead and add that. And this recording, again, will be posted on our YouTube channel as well as on the school outreach webpage, and the link is there. So anything related to school outreach, I post everything onto our website. All right, so those of you who have not met me or have not been on a Lunch and Learn, as the Public Health School Liaison, I offer a number of services to the schools. Everything we do, we offer for free. So I'm your primary point of contact if you have questions about communicable diseases or any sort of screening events. We have a number of free online resources, and I try to update those about once a month. I'm doing a large number of different programs in schools that includes trainings and certifications. So things like CPR, Stop the Bleed, Catch My Breath, and we'll touch on Catch My Breath a little bit more today. And then we also have a number of free classes for students. Most of those are going to run between 30 minutes and an hour. But I can come in and talk about topics like vaping, personal hygiene is a big one for middle schoolers. And then we do have the little bit longer courses like the Safe Sitter certification. So again, that's the link. Anything that I do, or if you have questions, you can find all the resources there on our webpage. All right, so for communicable disease updates, we are in the heart of cold and flu season still. So please make sure you are referencing the IDOH Communicable Disease Guide. If you don't have a copy of this, I'm happy to send it to you as a PDF. It's a big manual, but I would recommend printing it if you're going to be using this regularly. The newest one is 2023. So a few people have asked if there's a 2024. The 2023 edition is fine. The 20% rule, I did want to clarify. We focused on this in the last Lunch and Learn. If you have 20% or more of your students in a single building out for illness. There are a few exceptions to that, but for the most part, if you have hit 20% of your kids out sick, you are required to report that to us. If you're under 20%, but you have questions, we always tell you that you are welcome to call. We can give you some guidance on some steps you can take to hopefully not hit the 20%, but you're only required to call when you have hit the 20% mark. So again, I'm your primary point of contact on that. You're welcome to reach out to me if you have any questions. This is something that we put together. We hand these out in magnet form, but it's a guide based on the State Health Department's guidance on when kids should not be going to school. So if you're having issues with parents sending kids when they have fevers or really bad coughs, you're welcome to send this resource home. We have it in English, Spanish, and Burmese. And this just gives you something you can give to them to say, there are actually rules. We don't want sick kids coming to school. So I will attach this in the follow-up email. So if you'd like a copy of this as a PDF that you're welcome to print or post on your websites, just put your email in the chat for me. I did want to touch on measles. So most of the people on this call would have gotten the school email that we sent out. We also had a countywide press release come out. So there's not measles in Indiana as of today. We just want people to be aware. So it's in the news a lot. A lot of people are talking about measles. So that letter just gave you basically critical language to be aware of. So what measles is, what symptoms you should be looking for, and sort of a bit of guidance on what we could expect if we were to get a measles case in Indiana. So if you have suspected measles or if there's any concern related to measles, please call us immediately. And if you did not receive that letter by email, I did get a few bounce back emails. Feel free to just message me or let me know in the chat, and I'll make sure to get that out to you. All right, so my student group that I run, it's the Public Health Student Heroes. They do monthly deliverables. They had to do some editing on their last chunk. That's why it was a little bit delayed getting posted, but their sleep and dental deliverables are going to be getting posted hopefully by tomorrow. But for this month, March is the National Sleep Awareness Month. So they did a number of different posters. They did a video and an audio clip focused on how students can get better sleep. So we are encouraging people to try the Sleep Week Challenge. So you're welcome to print this out. This will be posted on that school outreach page as a PDF. It's just 5 days and they can do it every week in March. Technically, Sleep Awareness Week is next week. But I'm going to be attaching this PDF file to my follow-up email. So it's just encouraging kids to be aware of the fact that they're probably not getting enough sleep. And even if they're getting the number of hours, they may not be getting deep sleep. So there's just some easy options on here, like limiting the amount of caffeine, exercising throughout the day, limiting screen time, especially before bedtime. If they can try these easy changes to their daily habits, it may improve their sleep. So if you do end up doing a Sleep Week challenge and using this in your school, please take some pictures and let us know if you're using any of these resources. Over spring break, so I believe all of the public schools, I'm not sure about all the private schools, have the same spring break this year. It's that first week of April. I'm going to be offering a whole bunch of free courses. If these fill up, I can absolutely add more. So as of now, there's at least 1 or 2 spaces left in all of the classes. On April 1st, I'm offering 2 2-hour sessions to certify teachers to become Catch My Breath trainer or Catch My Breath instructors. And I'll be talking about that more here in a minute. On April 2nd and 3rd, I'm offering free CPR classes and free Stop the Bleed classes. So for CPR, we are covering all the certification costs. That is your 2-year certification. It's a 2.5-hour class, and all of these courses are being held here at the medical annex of the health department. So if you'd like to reserve a spot, it is first come, first serve. So my email's on there. Send me an email and just let me know what school you're from and which class you'd like to attend. You're welcome to attend all 3 if you'd like to. Okay, so I wanted to just briefly talk about Catch My Breath. I refer to this a lot, but I've never really explained what this program is. So I am certified in a train the teacher capacity. So I can come in and teach. It's a 4-part evidence-based curriculum on vaping. And it's wonderful. So it includes all the lesson plans, the worksheets, the slides. There's great videos in it. It's very engaging for the kids instead of just sort of like a lecture style. But it's designed to be taught for 30 minutes, 4 days in a row, or once a week for 4 weeks. So I know that can be a little bit tricky in terms of scheduling. There's only one me here. So I am more than happy to schedule it and come in, say, for 30 minutes, 4 Mondays in a row for a certain class. But what's probably going to make more sense for most of our schools is I can come in and train as many of your teachers or administrators or nurses. It takes about 2 hours to get certified. And after that certification, I will give you access to everything you can see on the right. So it's the full curriculum and it's all grade specific. So what you teach a 5th grader is going to be different than what you teach a 12th grader. They also have a number of really, really good parent resources. And then additional resources. So there's some that talk about, THC. That's not part of the main curriculum, but there are some resources in there if that's an issue you're having at your school. And I would love to see more schools utilizing Catch My Breath. I will teach it as many times as I have time to, but if we could train, 10, 20 of our teachers or our school nurses to get out, then you can teach it as many times as you want. So it's nice. It can be taught. It is all standards based and aligned, so you can teach it as part of a health class or one of your science courses, but it can also be a great addition if you have a homework prep period or something after school. So if your school is interested outside of those spring break trainings, I can come in on an in-service day, or I can come in for a few hours after school, and I can train a number of your teachers on this, and then your school would have the ability to teach this, all the years moving forward. And that is entirely free. The last thing I wanted to mention, it's not directly for you guys, but if you know anyone that is involved with either virtual or homeschool students, we are offering a free school health screening event. So this is next week. It's the 13th, and we're hosting it at SuperShot. So we are offering free vision, hearing, dental, and lead screenings, and then partnering with SuperShot for immunizations. A lot of the homeschool and virtual kids get skipped in these screenings because they're not in a physical building. So if you have any connections in either of those communities, please feel free to share this. We've had a decent amount of interest, but we would love to fill all the spots up. All right, so I finished a little early. I'm going to go ahead and hand it off to Nancy Kripe. She is the director over at Tobacco Free Allen County, and I am a member of her coalition. So Nancy and I work together really closely, and she is going to speak to us a bit more in detail about the issues we're seeing with vaping in our schools. So Nancy, whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Mary. And now I just have to find my slides on the share button. I should
Yep, let me go ahead and stop. I'll stop sharing my screen and then it should open it up for you. And while Nancy's finding that, just as a reminder for the people that joined a little bit later, please put your email addresses in the chat if you would like a copy of the slides or Nancy's slides or any of the resources referred to today.
It's moving slowly, sorry.
You're good, and we can see your screen.
Great. Okay, and I hope I have it set because there's a video embedded in here. I'm just realizing. I hope we'll be able to hear the sound. You'll have to let me know if not. So sorry. So addressing vaping. So I'm here to talk about addressing youth vaping. And the Catch My Breath is one of the great ways to do that, I will say. So I'm really happy to see what Mary is doing with that. It's wonderful. So just a little bit, we know the extent of the problem. I know you guys are all aware of it on a daily basis. That kids are using vapes. This is a nationwide figure. I'm not going to do any other statistics other than this, but just in 2023 from the National Monitoring the Future Survey, we know that 11.5 approximately of 8th graders were vaping at least once, during the year. This is sometime during the past year they were vaping. 17.5% of 10th graders and 23, sorry, this is covering it. I got to move this band. There we go. 23.2% of 12th graders. So what I find all the time is that as we talk to adults about this is this big why. It's like, even when the kids know that it's bad, and a lot of them do know that it's bad for them, they may not think it is as bad as smoking, but they do know that it's bad. So why do they keep doing it? And that's what I really want to convey today, because I think it's really important for us to understand what's driving it in order to know how to address it. Because if we just feel like, all we need to do is get these kids enough information about how bad it is and how it's going to harm their health, and it's, that's going to be sufficient. And that is important. It's a very big piece of it, but we also have to understand what's really driving it behind the scenes, the hidden drivers. The hidden driver is, and this image popped up too soon, is the commercial tobacco industry, which needs replacement smokers to protect its products. So the young guy here is their replacement smoker for the old woman who's going to die off after, and die early from all her smoking. And they have always needed this. They've always talked about youth as their replacement smokers. What they know is that they got to get them interested before the age of 18 and get them addicted by the age of 20. They know that current smokers, 88% of them started by 18, got addicted by the age of 20. They can't just rely on people who are going to get interested and get addicted as adults, because that's only 12% of their market. And they also know this. This was the decline in smoking between 2000 and 2022, and today is approximately the same as where we're at with 2022, maybe even a little less. But we went for almost 1/3, the green line is high school students, almost 1/3 of high school students were smokers, down to less than 2% now. And about 10% of middle school students, the blue line, were smokers, and now we're down to less than 1%. So there go their future profits, right? If they can't get the kids interested in smoking, they're going to lose all their, long term, they're going to lose all their all their money, their profits. So their response was, let's create a new way to smoke and market it aggressively. So, and you can see even just from these images, part of how they're marketing it as cool, very trendy. So how did they do it? Just want to look very quickly at some of the tactics they've used. Baiting them with flavors, that's a big one. So flavor these things up the wazoo. There's over 15,000, probably more than that. It's probably more like 20,000 these days, flavors that they use, all of them sweet, very yummy sounding. Market them as belonging to youth identity. And this is something they've always done with their products. So they did the same thing with cigarettes, like you'll see here on the left. Is part of having fun, being high energy, being expressive, all the things that, are part of youth identity. And you can see how with the Juul and Blue vapes, they did the same kind of messaging in their advertising. They market them like crazy on social media. So kids just get inundated with images of people vaping, people doing tricks, making it look really fun. And I have a video. Hopefully we can hear the sound. Let me see if you can hear it. Are you getting sound? Oh, hang on. So I am not as familiar with how to share sound on Teams as I am on Zoom. So that may be the problem here. Do you know, Mary, where that control is?
There's a little bar toward the top. I can't see it because I'm not sharing my screen right now, but I know it's within that bar on the top in the audio. But if it doesn't work, Nancy, you're welcome
I
to
may
just
just have
share
to
that.
send it out.
Yeah, you can send that link out.
You know what? I'm going to play just a few seconds of this. You won't get the sound, but you'll get the imagery. And even it communicates quite a bit of it's just, the flood. This is a compilation of some of the influencers that were used to promote Juul. So Juul was the first e-cigarette that really went after youth, and they came on the market in 2015. And up until that point, youth really weren't taking up e-cigarettes too much. They really were mostly people who were smokers who were thinking, oh, I can switch this. It'll be a safer way to smoke. And they didn't really take off. And then Juul came along and did this, and they hired a whole bunch of influencers, and you'll just get some of the imagery that'll give you an idea of what they were doing. Okay. So I'm going to pause it there and move on. And you can, when you get this, I'll send it out so that you can watch it on your own. But you can see that they just flooded. It's like, why wouldn't you be interested in if you're 14, 15, 16 years old when you see that? It's like they're making it look fun. They make it look trendy. They make it look like the thing to do if you're young. The other thing they do is flood the zone where youth shop. So they know that young people go into a convenience store on average once a week. So they, going in to get candy, gum, soda, whatever, and you're going to see advertising for them all over the outside of the store, sometimes all over the inside of the store. You also see these display cases that just have all the, right where you're going up to the counter to buy anything you're buying, you're right facing this, acrylic case that is full of these beautiful little colorful products that look just like the candy that they're often sitting above or next to. The tobacco industry actually invests enormous amounts of money to target youth at convenience stores to the tune of $8.4 billion per year. That's more than $1 million an hour. So it gives you an idea of just how important it is to them to attract young people to their products. This is an example. I'm just going to give a couple of examples of local marketing of e-cigarettes at our convenience stores. This is a convenience store across from Maple Creek Middle School. I took this a couple of years ago. They actually set up these, cardboard posters that are right in front of the store and set them up over these posts. They're there like for barriers for cars not to drive into the store, right? They put them over these posts and it's almost like a gauntlet, like the kid can't walk in there without going through this gauntlet of advertising for vapes. And when we do our store audits that we do every 2 years to just document how the marketing is being done in these stores, we find that 1 in 3 of Indiana retailers do display ads for e-cigarettes outside the store. And nearly 75% of e-cigarette using youth report that they are exposed to ads in stores. So they're seeing them, they're definitely there. Here's some other examples locally, some photographs I took of some of that ad marketing. And there you see the display cases. I mean, they certainly make it look very attractive, very yummy, and make it blend right in with the candy. So it looks like it is for kids, right? just one slide on the impact on adolescence. This is kind of the rundown of what we know. It causes lung inflammation and injury, rapid addiction onset, increased heart disease risk, skeletal and soft tissue damage from the devices actually exploding. And there you see a visual of that. Increased likelihood of also using combustible tobacco. It causes learning, memory, and attention deficits, increased anxiety and depression, increased anger and rage, sleep disruption, and a decline in academic and athletic performance. So certainly not nearly as harmless as the kids think they are too often. So given all of that, I mean, it's really important to understand that background, that this is what the youth are dealing with, all this stuff coming at them that's promoting it to them. And then the peer pressure that builds from that, as kids start falling into that marketing trap, then they're also pressuring their peers to, hey, try this, it tastes good. And gives you a buzz, right? So we have a standard way of addressing that, which is punitive. The problem with that is it excludes them. It's an exclusionary approach that ends up isolating the student, communicating to them that, they're not really worthy to be part of the community. They got to stay home. They're going to get isolated away from the community, which creates shame. They've done something bad. They're treated as if they're bad. And it doesn't actually address what's driving the behavior behind, what's behind it, all the things that are actually causing that young person to do what they're doing. A better way is what we're calling restorative measures, which is inclusionary. It communicates that the student belongs and is valued, because we want to keep them in the community. We want to restore that relationship. We want to keep them, not getting in trouble, find out what's really going on. And it's student health and well-being focused. It's the alternatives to citation and suspension and treatment focused. So we're actually addressing the behaviors drivers, getting that kid some education. We'll talk a little bit about what those look like. Instead of engaging in this ineffective, destructive cycle of punishment where you have the punishment, the youth experiences shame and isolation. What does that do? It just increases their use. Besides, they're at home, they don't have anybody necessarily there to stop them from using, and it just reinforces the addiction, and you just keep the cycle going and going and going. Our question really should be, how do we provide support and accountability? So this is not about not having them be accountable, but provide support and accountability to help youth actually reach their full potential. So we need, just like with any other drug of addiction, we need prevention measures, intervention measures, and treatment measures. So prevention, how can we help prevent youth from taking up vaping? Well, it's hard to go up against a multi-billion-dollar industry, but certainly a piece of that is educating youth about the impacts on their physical and mental health. We do need to do that education so that they understand that no, just because they are marketed as safer than cigarettes doesn't necessarily mean they are, and they have plenty of harms of their own. They need to understand how addictive they are. They need to also, really important, understand how the industry targets them and sees them as replacement smokers. Because for the most part, young people don't like feeling like they're being targeted and manipulated. So that's a key part also of what Catch My Breath does, and it's wonderful that they do that part of the education. We need to teach youth how to emotionally self-regulate in order to deal with stress and trauma in their lives in more healthy ways. And we also need to help youth identify their passions and become invested in activities that relate to those passions so that there's energy going somewhere else besides focusing on vaping. And offer genuine personal connection and compassion and being a mentor. So that's some of the things. I'm sure that's not a comprehensive list, but some of the things we need to do. And then how do we intervene once they are using? How do we intervene effectively when they already are vaping? So again, educating them is a piece of it about the risks, the addiction, the industry targeting, again, knowing the signs of nicotine addiction, using motivational interviewing techniques to assess their readiness for change, provide resources, referral, and support for cessation and treatment, teach the youth techniques for emotional self-regulation, and setting clear boundaries and fair consequences for continuing to vape. And some of that could be community service versus, just sending them home. And then what does effective treatment look like? And I wish I had all the answers to this, because as a community nationally, internationally, we're struggling to find the effective treatment for youth around vaping addiction. But certainly addictions counseling, youth-centered addiction recovery support groups, youth addiction programs and treatment centers would be ideal. Use of medications, including nicotine replacement therapy, if it's deemed appropriate by a qualified healthcare professional, that would have to be prescribed for them since they're underage. And then treating relapses with compassion and support. This is a great resource specifically for school nurses that was done by the state level tobacco program in Massachusetts. So there's a few things in it that would be Massachusetts specific, but most of it is generally applicable to wherever you are. You can download that from their Massachusetts Clearinghouse website. So you'll have this link when you get the slides. Another really good resource to be aware of is the program ACT to address youth cessation. This was created actually by the American Academy of Pediatrics, but it's available through the American Lung Association. So you've got the link there. Also, it's a free online training in how to intervene. So how to do some of that motivational interviewing and, talk with the youth about what really is driving them and assessing what their level of addiction is, et cetera. Couple of recovery support programs for teams. What we do have, they're text message based. You may or may not already be aware of these, but Live Vape Free is our state level one. And the way the youth gets in touch with that is texting Indiana to 873373. That gets them in touch with the program, which is, again, all text-based. So it's text messaging back and forth, messages of support, encouragement, little games they can play to help deal with cravings, tips from other youth, what has helped them, that sort of thing. The X program, which used to be called This Is Quitting, is the same kind of program. It's just nationwide. And you access that by texting Ditch Vape to 88709. And again, you'll get this slide. Some other resources to be aware of is Vape Free Indiana, our website that's for educators, youth, parents, kind of general purpose for just about anybody to learn more about vaping and get access to resources. The American Lung Association has a quitting program called Helping Teens Quit, and actually, that's the webpage, Helping Teens Quit. The program is called Not on Tobacco. And the Alliance for a Healthier Generation has a lot of great resources specifically for schools on dealing with vaping. There's also PAVE, which is the organization Parents Against Vaping and Vaping E-Cigarettes. They have tons of resources for parents, but also for schools, for anybody, any concerned adult. Catch My Breath again, and then You and Me Together Vape Free is a great curriculum available through stanford.edu. I wanted to say just one word about Voice, which is our youth empowerment program at Tobacco-Free Allen County. So we engage youth in learning to be advocates against the tobacco industry. So if anybody's interested, that is for teens age 13 to 18. So send them our way. We take them to the State House. This is one of the things we do at least every 2 years, taking them down to the State House to advocate with legislators to do more to fight tobacco. This was we just took them, and I didn't get a picture updated in here from the trip that we just did. But this was from 2 years ago, so the group that we took. So, and there's my contact information. And it looks like we have 2 minutes. So if anybody has questions, I'm happy to try to field them.
That was great, Nancy. Thank you so much. And if you can email me your slide deck, I'll send those out in the follow-up email. So yeah, thank you so much, Nancy, for being here. Does anyone have questions for Nancy or for me on anything I covered at the beginning? You're welcome to unmute, or you can put them in the chat. Looks like we answered all the questions, Nancy. All right. Well, thank you so much for everybody joining. We are actually ending on time today. So I will go ahead and end this recording. This will be posted if you want to watch any of this again or see Nancy's phenomenal resources that she shared. And if you would like me to send the slides to you as well as some of those other resources, please put your email in the chat before you leave. All right. I don't think we have any questions. Thanks again for joining, Nancy. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you, everyone.